Yes, people, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. Um, Chelsea Wrexham tomorrow, FA Cup. After a very, convincing performance against Villa, I'm expecting kind of the same trajectory. I'm expecting it to be, you know, a difficult game. I think usually when you play a lot of these smaller teams, it could be, especially away from home. They'll definitely give you a game. There's a lot of motivation for these other teams to, give you a performance. You're playing against one of the big hitters. You want to be able to kind of show out. Even if you lose, it's the experience, it's the spirit of the FA Cup. There's, potential banana skins in a lot of these games. A lot of the times, big teams are being dumped out. So I definitely don't want any sort of like complacency in this game tomorrow. I want us to play our strongest team and or play a strong enough team to be able to just get the job done. So for me, I'm thinking, all right, strong 11, just go out, get the dub, call it a day. But yeah, very, very impressive win against Villa. It was kind of annoying when we went down by a goal, within 2 minutes. But the performance, was very top. There were a few guys who really played out of their skin. Enzo Fernandez, brilliant game. Caicedo, solid as ever. Joao Pedro, just doing Joao Pedro things, being very clinical. It seems like there's more of an emphasis of him just being a lot higher up now. That's a stat that came about that he has a lot less touches as he, like than he did under Marescan, I think. You know, I appreciate a manager that can just improve players. One of the funny things that I believe, um, what's his name? This new coach, Rosinio, was mocked for was some sort of being able to man manage and being able to bring some sort of confidence to his players. And I think a lot of people felt it was performative. A lot of people thought, you know what, you might not really have the minerals as a manager, hence why you have to go down the route of the man management. But I also think we've seen a lot of good managers in this league. Jurgen Klopp, Jose Mourinho. There was a lot of emphasis on just the psyche of their players. You've seen a lot of the players that Klopp had back in the day. You wouldn't really say these guys are like, you know, the best. Henderson, Wijnaldum, for an example. These guys were pretty steady players. James Milner, but he was able to get these guys to, basically go through a brick wall for him. And I feel like that's an element in Rossini's game that is very important. Sometimes it's not necessarily even about the tactics. I think it's about just being able to make your players feel like they can actually go to war for you. And I'm really appreciating this turnaround. We've lost 3 games under this new manager. They have all been unknowingly to Arsenal, which, to be fair, like 2 of those losses could have been draws. It could have been one loss. Maybe the first game we lost 3-2 in the first leg of the Carabao Cup, but we definitely could have walked away with a draw in the second leg. Yeah, we would have still been out. And then the Premier League game, that game could have ended in a draw. We could have won it, but you know how it is with Arsenal this season. But game this weekend, look, I'm expecting him to put out a team that can win this game. I don't want any complacency. I think one of our biggest issues this season has been playing the so-called smaller teams, and we just don't show up. There's no intensity, there's no focus. Players want to just do some dumb stuff. Like, I understand if you want to do the whole no look pass when your 4 goals up and you just want to take the piss out of the other team. I can respect that. When you want to be bringing out the flair, the oles. Yeah, when you're up 4-1, like we did against Villa, you want to do no looks. You want to just juggle the ball. Bro, you can juggle the ball with any part of your body. I don't care as long as we're getting the win. And I think that will be the hope and the focus. I'm kind of hoping, Rossini just lets these guys know, approach this game like it's a Villa. Approach this game like it's a PSG. Approach this game like it's a Barcelona. Stop being too complacent. Stop being overly confident. Because then we just kind of let our eye off the ball a bit, and then we just kind of mess up these games. So I'm expecting him to go, pretty solid. tomorrow, let's just go straight into the lineup. Um, I do want him to, rest some of the big hitters. We have PSG coming up during the week. I'm not trying to see, the likes of your Enzo Fernandez is playing this game. I'll be so honest with you. Um, if you have to give him, some minutes, then absolutely, sure. But other than that, nah. So let's just look at the lineup I would go with tomorrow. I would go with Jorgensen and go. I mean, it was a ballsy move. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think a lot of people, including myself, saw Rosinha dropping Sanchez. But if we're gonna go with the theme of consistency, you want your manager to drop your poor performing players. How many times have we wanted Neto out of the lineup? How many times has Garnacho been out of the lineup? How many times has Gusto been out of the lineup? You know, when players make mistakes, you want there to be accountability that is just being upheld. And I can respect the manager that does this. Jorgensen came in against Villa, playing out from the back, seemed a little bit less nervous. Um, his cross collection wasn't actually too terrible either. I think that's one of the biggest things that we always have from Sanchez. And, against Villa, Jorgensen, he did pretty okay. So I don't mind running it back against Wrexham. That will be my back four. I will play Josh, Sar. I don't really want to play Tosin. To be honest with you, I think Tosin has lost a lot of credit in the bank right now. I think he's really starting off on a very negative kind of balance for me. I think if you want to play in this game, you kind of need a bit more of a balance with your right footer and your left footer. I think Sar should get a game in this game. This should be a game that Josh should be able to play in as well. So my back four, Josh, Sar, Badiashile, Hato. Hato has really, been stepping it up in recent games, which you know, I do want to point out the fact that, I think Maresca was a fantastic coach for us. I think Maresca did, a good job. I think, when we talk of people being held to accountability or, to certain standards, if you're a manager and you go 9, 10 games without a win and we're just looking terrible and the ownership want to be able to kind of rip it up and start it all over again, then this is the history of what Chelsea do. They let managers go, they started again. So he had to go. One of my big criticism of Maresca was you gotta trust your squad a bit more. Like I get it. We all understand some of these guys are just to a certain level. Like there's not much you could do, but at the same time, you also have to protect your best players as well. There's certain games Cucurella doesn't have to play. Enzo doesn't have to play certain games. There were times when Enzo, Cucurella, Caicedo, these guys just had no choice. Lavia was injured. Esugo's been injured. Santos really wasn't trusted as much. But that's the thing. You look at players like Santos and Hato. These are guys you could trust a little bit more. And it sucked that there were times when, you know, Hato would have a bad game playing next to Tosin, and then he wouldn't get game time for like a couple of months. And I understand you want to be able to trust the people you're playing. But I think on the other hand as well, if these guys don't get the game time, it just doesn't really help them do better. Hato now you're starting to see some quality in there that you can actually utilize. Santos, you're starting to see quality that you can utilize. You look at someone like a Joao Pedro, his performances have gone on, to a certain level. Now the level and the consistency is up there. Garnacho is going to be Garnacho. So I don't blame a manager that doesn't want to use him. But even in a game like this, Carabao Cup, FA Cup, just play somebody like that. You want to have your Palmers ready for PSG, your Estevals, you want to give him more time to recover, and if we had somebody else, I would have played them too instead of Neto, because you want to hold people accountable. We've talked about players not getting booked for stupid things, and you see, your senior players like a Neto just being brain dead in a moment. And it's like, bro, there's got to be consequences to some of these, situations. So I can completely understand why, the manager will go a certain route. But even with this team that I'm putting, on the screen right now, I'll play Gusto in midfield with Lavia and Andre Santos. I'm really not trying to see Caicedo in this game. I'm not trying to see Enzo Fernandez in this game. If Asugo was fit, that would have been my midfield three. Lavia, Andre Santos, and Asugo. I would have run that midfield three against Wrexham. I know it wouldn't necessarily have, the creativity, but you still have a lot of people that can play through that middle. Santos, Lavia, these guys are progressive, players. They pass the ball to your wingers, and now, unfortunately, we have to rely on Kwame Neto and Abuajit Garnacho to do a job, and it's kind of tough. You know what I mean? But if Asugo was fit, I would have definitely ran Asugo. But I'm gonna play Gusto in this midfield just because I need someone to play in that position. Like I genuinely am not gonna go for any of the other guys. Gusto has had some sort of exposure in this midfield a bit, run it with him. That's an extra body. Some people could want to rotate between a Champong and Gusto, but to be honest, I think Gusto's just played that position a bit more. He's had more of experience in those kind of roles, so that's just what I'll do. And then my three up front, yeah, that's what you got. This is what you get from terrible squad planning in a sense. This is what you get from, you know, the options you bring in just not living up to the quality. Because let's keep it a buck. If Delap came in and he had hit the ground running, in the Prem, he had like 6 goals, maybe 7 goals, maybe 8 goals in all competitions and whatnot. I don't think people would have been like, yeah, don't throw him into this game. But because he just hasn't lived up to that quality, which it's interesting, right? With the whole Delap situation, because I do kind of feel for the guy in a sense where his season has been ramaged with injuries. He had a hamstring injury, like he was out for a couple of games. He came back in, got a red card, was out again. So he also hasn't helped himself. But I think just that he hasn't really had the consistency. And we talk about having a very young squad. The lap is very young as well. So I think sometimes people could pick and choose between who they might want to give grace and who they wouldn't want to give grace. Like when we looked at Jackson last season and we looked at the lap at Ipswich, let's be honest. A lot of us felt if you could translate, you know, the ball striking and the goal scoring, because you saw the goals this guy was scoring at Ipswich. The common mindset is if this guy's able to even translate half of that into this Chelsea team, we're gonna be golden. And for 30 M's, it just felt like you cannot lose with this deal. Somehow it feels like we've lost, but typically when you buy players of that, that low amount with a high level of, kind of potential, the risk ratio for this kind of deal, to be honest, it didn't seem too bad. But it's just even in the Club World Cup, when Delap came in, like he was looking pretty decent. He had some good service. He had a game or two that were pretty good. So we thought we were going to be eating good. It's just not translated. But he's still one of them people. Look, give him another season. If he's not good enough, you'll get rid. Because I still think there's a little bit of quality that could be pulled out of this. We're talking of a number 9 who just has to score you goals. If the guy's first touch, if he can work on his first touch, he can work on his IQ a bit. Of course, we can't always rule out certain players that they're just never going to develop. My God, if you looked at Harry Kane and you looked at his career trajectory, he went through Harry Kane was on freaking Leicester's bench at a point. So I can understand, like, again, it's the growth is not always linear. It's not always equal for certain people, but at least he gets one season for me. If it doesn't perform, yo, sell. You could always get your money back. Someone like a Garnacho. See, you've seen Garnacho in the Prem for years, and you've just realized he's just not good enough. But with someone like him, yes, there's still room to grow because I can't just sit here and go, in the next 2 years, this guy's not going to amount to nothing. But we can't wait 2 years for him to not amount to nothing or to amount to something. But Delat for me, look, I'll give him one more year because I just think there could be something there you could work with. I haven't really invested in the stocks, but I haven't really thrown the stocks away either. I'm just sitting on the fence with that one. I just feel he might need a little bit more of an opportunity, just one more run. If he doesn't make it, he does not make it. Neto for me, look, there was at a point where I was ready to get rid of Neto, and then the Club World Cup came. and then he was one of the best players of the tournament. You know, the responsibility kicked in. I think he understood what, the level he was playing at, and he was excellent. But now he's starting to revert back to type again, frustrated, not and the funny thing is, like, you look at his stats this season, and I think he's into like double digits goals and assists, but it's just the overall play. Neto, it feels like he kills the attacks. He doesn't look up a lot. He makes the wrong decisions sometimes, and it's not good enough. But for this game, this would have to do. You got PSG coming up. Let Garnacho get his game time. I don't know what kind of Garnacho we're gonna get in this game, but against Villa, got to give him a bit of credit, especially for that first half. I was watching this guy's movements, and I was like, yo, like the first touch was decent. He was making very solid decisions on the ball as well. But that's what you get with players like a Garnacho. When it's his day, he looks like a player. But then when it's every other time, he just looks terrible. So for me, this is the lineup I'm running against Wrexham. I think this is still a solid enough 11 to get the job done. You know, if I had to go with a score prediction, I'm probably looking at a score prediction somewhat similar to the last game, was a Hull City. I'll probably do like a 4-1, maybe 5-2 type of thing for Chelsea. But again, I am hoping we don't lose this game. So that's where I'm at. I think maybe we win by, maybe 4-1, 5-2. I think we'll score a lot of goals. And that will be pretty much it for this game. But I wanted to talk about Tottenham as well. I mean, it was talked about, it was mentioned. I did not believe that was actually going to happen. I genuinely thought, you look at teams like West Ham, and surely they're a lot worse than, Tottenham. But Spurs have they've been doing some Spursy stuff. And I just want to take an opportunity, you know, to look at contrasting range of emotions from one of the popular Tottenham content creators. You remember when the transfer window happened, and Spurs were looking like they got Kudus in ahead of us. They were looking like they were gonna get Eze. I mean, they got the Morgan Gibbs White bomber. They hijacked Xavi Simmons. I mean, they did everything right. So I just want to take a look at something very small. Let's look at how George was moving. And let's look at the contrasting feelings now, right? So let's just look at this 1 second, because I queued up a few of his videos. I think these are the very important ones, at least for me. And let's start with the Gibbs White one. Or should we start with the Xavi Simmons one? You know what? Let's start with Gibbs White. Let's start with this one. Let's start.
We're making it rain right now. There's an absolute bombers in the building.
Let's go.
Dude, bake off in the sun. I was just on the phone to Cass. I'm talking about, I'm tired, man. It's been a long day. What bomber? Spurs have had another bomber. Yo, it's a bombastico, as Mr. Pete says over there. Yo, I can't even lie. I don't know what it's like to feel like this. Here he goes in 2 days. Bro, I'm feeling different right now.
I think this was after they had signed Kudus. Remember when we got the whole here we go for Kudus, Kudus. We were so close to getting Kudus. It seemed like West Ham were legit just hand wrapping him to us. They're like, yo, Chelsea, come take Kudus. Here you are. And for some reason, what was it that we were focused on that we didn't get the Kudus deal over the line? I think this was around Club World Cup time. We were focused on some other shit that we just never paid attention. And we just didn't get this deal done. And for me, that killed me. Because I'm starting to think like, yo, we're able to bring in Kudus. You bring in Kudus. You have Esteban coming in next season. Now Kudus can play on the left. Kudus can be the replacement for, Cole Palmer when we need Cole Palmer to get a rest. Man, it was annoying. And then for, Spurs to get Kudus. And I believe this was when they got the Kudus, here we go. And then they also got the Gibbs White, here we go. So let's listen to this.
Money's long. Hey, someone give me the money money sleeve.
Money
Spurs are just letting it
sleeve.
rain. You know what
Yeah,
of them
yeah,
ones?
yeah, yeah, yeah. The
We're
money
making it
sleeve.
rain right now. There's an absolute bombers in the building.
This, for me, that was very monumental because, you know, it was the feeling of the transfer window. You know, that dopamine you get, that nice feeling when your team is actually making some serious inroads to adding quality to your team. And I'm not even mad, right? Because if we had gotten a lot of these targets that we won, you know, your Olises, if we had gotten him, your Kudus, I'm just thinking Cherky, like how different it would have been. So I'm not even mad at it. I just you know, there's a method to the madness. I just want to show the you know, the trajectory of emotions, the buildup. You know, so let's listen.
MGW has been confirmed to Tottenham.
Mm-hmm.
Release clause has been triggered. The release clause has been triggered. 60 million pounds. Let me share the report. This is madness. I was literally sitting there thinking, yeah, this deal might get done. It might not. We'll see. Seeing that talks are accelerating. Things are moving quickly. And all of a sudden, this went from an hour and a half ago.
Oh, yeah.
1 hour and a half ago. In fact, let's go through the scenario. Let's go through it. Yeah, what actually happened? So the first news broke not too long ago with David Ornstein. David Ornstein pretty much released to say Spurs are in talks.
Let me.
They're not playing games. Games are not being played. But as you can see here, 1 hour ago, after Kudu's still done, I was literally making a video about this.
So
I was literally just recording a video about it.
So that's when they did get the Kudus deal done. Like I was thinking. That was after, and that Kudus thing, bro, I'm not gonna lie, it still hurts till today. Because the amount of games Kudus probably could have won for this team right now, like the times Palmer was away, if we had a Mohamed Kudus in this team, I'm just struggling to imagine where would have been, you know, what could have been for us. We would have been chilling, straight chilling right now. But anyway, let's go.
At this, and I was like, "Fuck the video! I need to go live. I need to go live now because after Kudu's still done, Tottenham have made formal approach to Nottingham Forest for Morgan Gibbs-White. Official club-to-club talks ongoing with opening bid expected soon, as Athletic reported. Gibbs-White can be open to the move up to the clubs now." 7 minutes ago, yeah, literally just before we went live. Sorry, I know it's a bit zoomed out. Let me zoom in. As you can see there, Morgan Gibbs-White to Tottenham. Here we go. Spurs trigger £60 million release clause after direct contact with Forest today. Medical booked, set to take place in 24 hours. As Telefootball reported, Mike McGrath, follow Kuda still, massive moves for the Spurs project. Bomba!
So now that was the bomba. So now you think about this, right? And just imagine in a different kind of parallel universe where Spurs were able to get Kudus, Gibbs-White, and Eze. That would have been a team that we would have all looked at and went, yo, they're moving a bit serious. Yeah, they might not win the league, to be honest, because it's Tottenham. But they will give a lot of teams, a lot of big teams, a game. They would be one of those, you know, they could potentially be that like Pochettino type of Tottenham where, yeah, they didn't win anything, but they were very always kind of hard to beat. They were a very strong team. They made it to the Champions League final. Not saying this team would have made it, but it would have shown some sort of intent. But to get Kudus and like, yo, 24 hours later, you were moving in for Gibbs-White. I mean, that was intent. Like, that's how big clubs are meant to move. So I'm not even hating on it. But it was a good time for Spurs fans, right?
Hey!
Good time for them. Okay.
Hey, I got to start. Man's gonna have to. Yeah, here comes the money.
So
Vince McMahon.
Here
comes the money.
Okay. You see
money.
So let's go from this video. Let's go to the next one. The next one, which also killed my shit. Pause. But that next video had me like, bruh. Okay, they're genuinely taking the piss. I stayed up Oh, definitely. We definitely scammed them for sure, you know? We let them sign. No, no, no. See, the thing with Javi Simmons for me is like, I think if he came to us, you would have seen a lot, better performances. I just think when you go to a certain team where the standard is a certain level, you either acquiesce to it or you drown. I think that's just what was gonna happen. He was either gonna be quality or he was gonna be shit. But moving to Spurs, like for me, and I think for Chelsea too, we wasted a lot of time on that deal. Like I could just imagine what was being sold to his agents because this guy really did put in the time to wait on us. But it's just these directors, bro. That's the problem. It's these directors. They just can't sign anything. Like these directors cannot even tell a blind man he's blind. Like if our directors go tell Stevie Wonder, bro, you can't see, he might be like, yo, matter of fact, I think you're bullshitting me. That's how bad our directors have been moving. So that was another thing. Our directors just messed up on this deal. It was supposed to be Hato and Siemens in the door. It was supposed to be Kudus in the summer, and they just fucked it up. Our directors just are the worst in the business. Like, yeah, okay, you got Joao Pedro, but like, fam, that was it. That was you got Hato, which I like Hato as well, but that's it. But this one hurt a bit more because as a lot of Chelsea fans, I'm sure some of you were up to see, if we're gonna get this deal over the line. And when Ornstein posted that whole Javi Simmons has accepted to them, it killed me. But let's go to this one. This this one. There we go.
And yes, I don't want to hear Simons. I don't want to hear Simmons. Xavi Simons.
Listen.
Do-rag diaries. Yo, people, what's good? Hey, I get a money sleeve. Yeah, man.
You hit us with a money
the hijack
sleeve
is
again.
completed.
That shit.
The robbery has been confirmed.
Again,
Xavi Simons. And yes, I don't want to hear Simons. I don't want to hear Simmons. Xavi Simons has completed his move to Tottenham Hotspur.
Okay.
We had our chains snatched so many times this window. So many times.
I think that was when Eze decided to go to Arsenal because it looked like Eze was going to go to Spurs. And then he just said, yeah, you know what? Forget all that. I don't want to play for this dead club. And then, of course, they went and took our target, Xavi Simmons. I mean, that joint hurt. We were watching preseason games for RB Leipzig because we were so sure we were going to get Xavi Simmons. There was a time when they were like, Xavi Simmons has been spotted at Stamford Bridge. And the whole time it was just some regular dude with braids, just light-skinned brother, just walking by the bridge, and they thought it was Xavi Simmons. But anyway.
That we was on GBGs. We said, we're going to go to Chelsea now. We're going to go snatch their chain. And we went, we took it, and we done it in style. We done it in style.
In style, bro. In style, they say. To be fair, they did us dirty, but he said they took it in style. It was, and the reason why I wanted to revisit this was that whole money sleeve being displayed. But I'll tie this beautifully at the end. So
on the mains, they knew we were coming to their block. They knew we were gonna be there. We were having calls, we were having meetings, and they done nothing. They done nothing. Why? Because Xavi Simons, he wanted Tottenham. But we have had the here we go. We've had the bomber. We've had all of that stuff. We've had it all. It's all been confirmed at this point. We are just waiting for the Spurs official. I can't believe my club is finally moving serious. I can't believe my club is doing the business that I've asked. My number one target, Xavi Simons, is here, and he is in Spurs colours. But look, let's go through the tweets. Let's get up the details so you guys can see.
Bro, and
how the robbery happened.
I'm not going to hold you. For us to have lost What'd you call it? For us to have lost Javi Simmons to Spurs of all people, that joint was just it was awful. Like it was awful. Terrible, terrible. But it is what it is. It happens. But let's just watch a little bit more of this and then one more video and then we're gonna wrap this video up. We're gonna wrap the stream up.
David Ornstein, early this morning, 7:30. Xavi Simmons has completed a medical before moving to Tottenham Hotspur from RB Leipzig. 60 million euro deal agreed club to club. Personal terms done for 22-year-old Taka to join Tottenham Hotspur pending final details being sorted out between Dutch International Leipzig. Yeah, I know we call him Fraudizio, and there's a reason. It's because he came like an hour later, but look, we now have the here we go. Yeah, we have here we go. All signed with.
I'm not gonna lie, when I read that, I think I saw that news at like midnight my time. And once I saw David Ornstein post that, I'm not gonna hold you. I was thinking, maybe come the morning, you know, Egbali and the people who typically get these big deals done will step in, you know, and handle business. And I think the worst thing too after this was we went and we got Buonanotte. Like we went from Xavi Simmons to Facundo Buonanotte, and I think that's just what was killing everybody. Like that's what made it worse. Like being able to just watch this just slip out of our hands. It was stupid. But you know, anyway, Spurs they had their fun with it. Let's see a little bit more of what
we go on a Friday, you know? And just before we go into the weekend, just before we go into our next game, we have our player, our number 7, because I'm pretty sure it's gonna be Xavi Simons with the 7. Yeah, 7 Simons. It's now completed. And also for those saying, you know, yeah, look, it's not confirmed yet. Mr. Uday, sorry, wait. I'm here to tell you, well, it is confirmed. It is confirmed. Because I don't know what you got from your reading, but what we're seeing right now, understand, there's no intention at the Chelsea and try hijack Tottenham and Simmons. They've been interested in a player, but never made a formal bid and have other targets.
Actually, that last part of that statement was so dumb. Bridges have been built in the relationship between Chelsea and Spurs over recent years, and there's no desire to demolish them now. I mean, unless the kind of bridges we're talking about is whenever we pull up, it's 3-point lane, say less. If that's the bridge we've built up, okay, no problem. But I'm struggling to think of anything else. Like, there's nothing Tottenham. Well, right now, if they get relegated, then there's a lot of business we could do. You know what? I spoke too soon. Maybe the foresight was there. Let me just give some credit to these owners that they probably don't deserve right now, because this is just me trying to be, you know, very edgy with the take. Maybe on some level, somebody saw this shit crushing and burning all the way to the ground. And we figured, you know, with these relationships, we can wait to the end of the season so we can cash in on that favor. You know, that favor you owe big bro. Now we're going to cash in. Okay, now you're going to give me Xavi Simmons for 25 M's, 30 M's. Yeah, kudos. Yeah, your heart still beats Tottenham. Your heart still bleeds Spurs. Nah, bro. I don't think so. You still want to come over here? I bet. We'll make an exception for you. We'll make an exception for you this time. You know, because when you look at the history of Chelsea, we have the African brothers who have come in and done, you know, beautiful things for this culture. So now is your chest still beating Spurs, or are you trying to go in the championship? You let me know. But if this is what we're going to say, all right, say less. Once they get relegated, yeah, then we can capitalize on this relationship. You know, that bridge, Kudus can walk over that bridge to the bridge. Xavi Simmons can walk over the bridge to the bridge. Hell, who else we gonna take from there? Give me Van de Ven. He can walk over that bridge to the bridge as well. Hell, who else can I take? Like, who else? Give me somebody. Bergval, I don't think is really good, but why not? 15 M's. Give me Bergval. We've built a nice relationship. Bridges, and I know Kudus was a Chelsea fan because Kudus, funny thing is, we agreed personal terms with Kudus twice. Even before he went to Spurs, we agreed personal terms with him. It's just, we just never acted on it. I think we just kept, our directors just kept twiddling their thumbs. Like, for some reason, they probably felt like, oh, we've already agreed personal terms. Like, yeah, this player, he going to wait for as long as he needs to wait. But nah, once another team comes in and give West Ham more money, bro, it's gone. Give West Ham more money, give Kudus more money, he's out of there because Kudus just wanted to get the hell out of West Ham anyway. So for me, it was either Chelsea or Spurs, and we just delayed on it. But now, maybe these bridges like we've built, the good relationship. Yeah, you can give me, hell, you can dash Romero in there too, and we could try to, rebuild Romero, to a certain level. Give us some decent quality. Give me both your center backs. Hell, I might take Jared Spence as well, just because I can. Maybe I take Spence as well, because why not? Yeah, Xavi Simmons, Kudus, give me your center back partnership. Give me Spence as well. Bergval, like, you could keep Gallagher over there. Matter of fact, just to aid your journey in the championship, I'll throw in a little body of Sheila in there. If West Ham don't decide to capitalize on, Disasi, I'll throw a little Disasi in there for you. Hell, I'll give you Garnacho for your problems. I will give you Garnacho for your problems. Matter of fact, I'll give you Gittins on loan for a season. How about that? Just rehabilitate Gittins for me, and then I'll take him back that season. Make sure you give him minutes. Give him. Matter of fact, nah, Gittins is too good for the championship. Well, what are we talking about? I'll just loan Gittins back to Dortmund. Apparently we have, fractures over there. We can loan them back Gittins, and since I have Kudus and I have Xavi Simmons, I can loan Dortmund Gittins, and they can give him some game time back to Germany. He can feel confident again, and then the next season Gittins can come back. But this was before the season started, and I mean, to be fair, you thinking Spurs, they've gotten Xavi Simmons, they've gotten Kudus, and you're thinking, all right, they might actually do something this season. But it's not looking like that, right? Because now the tune has gone from this, with all the happy
bridges have been built in the relationship between
snatching our chains, yeah, the money, that money.
Yeah.
Well, once them get relegated, I'm gonna need this. Not even the directors. I need Ekbali himself and Bowley to walk into this, the conference room when they're in the championship, and then just put single dollar bills on their hands and just money sleeve. $1 for Kudus. I'll give you another one for Xavi Simmons. $2 for your center backs. Another dollar for Spence. I give you 50 cents for Bergval. Money sleeve right there. I think that's what we need to do. When we show up, there's no need to even negotiate much. Just, how he just did it. Let's go back 2 seconds. There we go. Yeah, where it is. There we go.
Yeah.
This when we pull up.
Chain back, Chelsea fans.
When we go back,
come get your chain back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, that's how I need Bowley up to that
negotiation. We do a super chat solely for money sleeves, bro. People they ain't getting money sleeves on request no more.
But anyway, that's how we need to negotiate with Tottenham once they get relegated. And then the video to basically end it off for me, from Dead, what's his name? George. I was about to call him Deji. That's another Spurs fan that he just be going through it. This is the last video and we're gonna be done with it. So you see how there was so much excitement in the first two videos I just played to you. So much happiness, so much joy. You know, you snatch Big Brother's chain. You did what you had to do. All right, bet. Okay. Now let's see how that has been working for you. Oh, hey, look at the title. Look at the title. Major crash out. F the club. Oh, it's kind of crazy, don't you think? A couple of months later, the sleeve is not long no more. The sleeve ain't long. It's short. Hell, matter of fact, there's no sleeve no more. It's just fire. It's burning. So that's not a sleeve no more, bro. It's a tank top. Oh, let's listen to this beautiful. Let's listen.
Durag Diaries.
Okay.
Tottenham 1. Crystal Palace 3.
Yeah.
Fuck Tottenham. I need to make this clear.
No. Nah, you can't do that now. You can't do that now, bro. You have to remember the money is long. That sleeve is long, bro. You can't do that now. You can't bite the hand that fed you really well. I mean, the money was so long, not a couple months ago. It was so long. You snatched Big Brother's chain, you know? Yeah. You had a better, transfer window than we did. Yeah. Hell, you probably said some shit like you finished way ahead of Chelsea. Yeah. If you didn't, I'm not saying you did. I'm just saying you probably did. If you didn't, no problem. But the sleeve was long. What happened, bro? That's not nice, man. How you gonna talk about the team that was just feeding you? Why would you do that? But anyway, let's go.
I hate this football club.
Raw.
Like I hate this football club. I'm standing up in my bedroom alone, shouting like a madman. Because this football club is just ruining me. What the fuck is going on?
Usually people will do this. Yeah. I wish I had the violent sounds. Matter of fact, I let me get it. I mean, let me do that while I'm listening to this. Hold up. Violent sounds. Let me see. Let me see. Hold up. Here it is. Hold up. Let's see. Let me see if I can hear this. Oh, yeah.
I don't even know what I'm watching on the pitch anymore. Where is the structure? What is the formation? What is the setup? I don't even know. We've got our leaders, Van der Ven,
There they go.
Porro, Romero, just taking the piss.
Yeah.
Taking the piss out of us, taking the piss out of the badge, taking the piss out of the fans.
Violent sound.
Game in, game out. What was that today? Van der Ven doing stupidness, pulling down the defender, knowing that it's the last man. What is he even doing?
It's beautiful, bro.
You've got Romero on a 4-match ban for however many red cards, coming out talking against the club. Van der Ven now refusing to sign a contract, coming out playing these awful performances, then getting a red card. No leadership, no accountability, no one who's taken the responsibility to lead us in this moment. We've just got kids. Don loves to call his Chelsea boys delinquents. No, we got the real delinquents because these guys are just taking the piss. They run the place. They must run the place because what is going on? Igor Tudor cannot control these players. What I'm seeing on the pitch is just no response, no reaction. Nobody, now I can't say nobody because that would be unfair. Archie Gray.
Yo, let me know if you can hear the violence.
You know what?
Talking. Let me know.
For the last couple of games, if there's someone that's showing character, someone that's showing fight, that's showing grit. We've got our youngest player, a 19-year-old, someone who come to the club. Everybody has belittled him. Everybody has told him he's not been good enough. £40 million down the drain. Keep telling us that he's not a good enough player. He's a shit prospect. Why have we got him? The whole fan base is against him. And I've been telling people, there's a talent in there. But forget a talent. There's a grit, there's a determination. At least someone's showing up, showing a little bit of quality. He's one of the best players for us right now. And
nobody want to hear all of that. Your team sucks. You're going to get relegated. The money sleeve is long. Don't worry. There's a lot of teams. Funny thing is, if they actually do get relegated, because you're looking at the other teams, but yo, I think the funniest thing to ever happen, or the funniest thing that would happen, is somehow, which I think it's improbable, almost damn near impossible. But if Wolves pick up so many points, more than Tottenham in that time, and actually avoid relegation. But you know what? It seems like Wolves are already going to be done. They're already down there. They're playing some good football right now, with no expectations. They're beating the big teams. It is what it is. But I beg that Tottenham get relegated, because for so long, bro, that one of the fan bases, and to be fair, they did win the Europa League, but that's United tax. You got to charge that to the game. United let these guys taste Europe like that. And they were just talking big. The money was long. Yo, it's different if you just pull up on that humble shit. Like, you know what? Yeah, we've been one of the best teams, top 6. We handle business, rah. Nah, but these guys always force themselves in conversations where they don't belong. Spurs don't belong in any conversations with your Arsenals, your Chelseas, your Liverpools, your Man Uniteds, your Man Cities. They don't. But they want to have all of this chat. I mean, they do have a Europa League, European heritage. Arsenal doesn't. But you look at the amount of prems Arsenal has, the amount of trophies Arsenal has. Tottenham, they really are the little bros, bro. Like, so it's Chelsea, it's Arsenal, and then it's Spurs all the way over there. And they really should be having conversations with your Palace and, your Fulhams and all these other teams. But they want to have all this chat. Bro, I beg you get relegated. I'm telling you, that money sleeve, I really need our directors to just pull up with that sleeve and take all your good players. Just 4 will be good. Because I don't see these guys staying in the championship. Madison in the championship, it's dark. Kulusevski, dark times. Vicario, dark times. The players that could go down there with, your Dragusins, your what's that brother's name? What's his name? Kevin Danso. Yeah, them players they could go down there with. Your Archie Grays. You could go down there with Archie Gray. You could go down there with some scrubs. But all these other guys, I know for a fact, they are gone. If their agents probably ain't really already, haven't started having conversations with other teams, their agents are failing them. Because, matter of fact, even if they don't get relegated, bro, hop on the phone to your agents and tell them, yo, get me F out of here fast, not slow. Get me up out of here, because ain't no way, bro. 2 seasons in a row, they have been battling relegation. Last year, they would have been relegated if not for just the other teams being worse than them. Like, dead serious. 2 years, they've legit been in the same situation. So I'm begging for these guys to actually be relegated and go down. It will be so sweet, because they have conversations they're not even been invited to. They have all this chat, all this chest. I beg to get relegated. It will be sweet. You hear me? It will be. Just go down. Let me come get Kudus, build my team up. Let me come get Xavi Simons. Even though I know he's been a scrub for you, I think there's actually a player in there. And, funny thing is when he did his interview, he was like, yeah, what was that thing? Spurs call that answered, whatever that bullshit was. Now look at you. I know now anybody calling you answering anybody's call. I know Xavi Simons probably just every time just looking at his phone like, yo, who's finna blow up my time right now? Because I cannot be here for another season. You shouldn't. Yeah, the minute you saw Tottenham calling you, bro, you should have just said, maybe I should just stay at Leipzig one more year. Maybe Chelsea would get this shit together. You know, hell, maybe another team will come get me. You should have just seen the call coming, picked it up, and hung it right back up. Because I don't know why you do that to yourself. Like, of all the teams you could have went to, Tottenham, you serious, bro? You kind of deserve that too. You and your agent. Low-key, you and your agent deserve this. And just as a punishment, maybe we should just let you go down there with them. No team coming for you because you seem to make questionable decisions off the pitch. How you going to make good decisions on the pitch, bro? It's crazy. One of the biggest moves of your career as a young player, and you decided to go to Tottenham. Why would you do that? It makes me question your decision-making right now. Would you even come and elevate my team, or would you come with that loser mentality? But I still think you're a good enough player. And you know what? 25, 30 M's, Tottenham, relegation clause. I know they all got some relegation clauses in there. They have to. If they don't, the agent's probably working straight overtime right now. No sleep, around the clock to get these guys up out of there, because some of these guys are just too good for that. Give me Kudus, give me Simmons, give me your center backs. I guarantee you see a much better performance from my Chelsea team. That's the look of a brother in despair. That's, the reality is starting to sink in, bro. That's that look. That's that look. Next time, don't go too early. You jump the gun. That's what happens, brother. Yo, people, like the video, hop to the comments. Let me know how you feel. Sub to the channel. I'm gonna catch you on the next one. Peace.